Thank you all for coming tonight. My name is Jennifer Raichlin, and I'm a certified wellness coach. I am also a Tai Chi instructor, and I am a raw foodist, which is what brings me here tonight. Many of you are probably going, okay, what the heck is a raw foodist? A raw foodist is an individual who is an enthusiast for the eating raw concept. And most people, when I talk about eating raw, they say to me, oh gosh, I would never eat raw meat. Well, you don't eat raw meat when you eat this way. When you don't eat raw meat at all. But the basic premise behind being a raw foodist is that the food, when it is in its most natural state, is going to be the most healthy for you, and you're going to get the most nutrition. When food is considered cooked, when is food considered cooked? It is considered cooked if you heat it to a temperature above roughly 118 to 120 degrees. There's a little bit of leeway there in that food of thought. I've read some literature where they say even 116 is really what the temperature is. So as long as you keep it below that rough media right there, you're still eating raw. That is why in some cases raw foodists will use a dehydrator, for instance, where they do actually use a little bit of heat to dry food. So, and what meal is complete without dessert, right? So the next dish we are going to make is a dessert. And unfortunately, I'm one of those people that for whatever strange reason, God left the chocolate gene out of me. So I'm not an incredibly big fan of chocolate. I know, it's kind of strange, right? Okay, somebody else back there, she's agreeing with me. But this is a very good dish if you like chocolate. And even if you don't, once in a while I do get a little craving for a chocolate. One spoonful of this does it for me. And then I'm done for about 2 or 3 months. I don't need any more chocolate. Okay, what we're gonna use as the base of this dish is an avocado. And if you've never eaten an avocado before, they are incredibly, incredibly good for you. And I encourage you to try them. Let's see, I do need a spoon. Doug, would you grab me another plastic spoon from back there? Thank you. Okay, so the way you get into an avocado, you cut it in half, you make more or less, you score it all the way around, and then you take the seed out as you saw me do. You just simply kind of tap at it with your knife, give it a turn, and the seed comes out, okay? So we're not gonna use the seed. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take the avocado part out. So I'm not gonna use that bowl yet. And then you can just simply take a spoon and run it around the inside of the skin. Avocados are incredibly high in omega-3 fatty acids. If you know anything about that, that is kind of all of the rage these days in a lot of the medical literature about how important that is for our body in many, many ways. You will never know once we complete this dish that there is avocado in it. One of the raw cooking classes that I taught a couple of months ago, one of the ladies who attended was incredibly excited to find out about this dish because she said, oh good, I can feed my kids avocado and they won't know. So if she can feed it to her kids and they won't taste it, then we're doing pretty good with something there. So you can see they just easily clean out. When you're shopping for an avocado, you want to find one that is a little bit brown on the outside and still a little bit green. You want it to be kind of soft. You want it to sort of be kind of the softness of this part of your hand right there. Okay. Does anybody here ever not have had avocado before? All right, good. We're all in comfortable territory then, right? Okay. So then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to roughly chop this. And you can see there is no precision to this. You don't have to be precise in any form or fashion. And I'm going to take it and put it in my other little food processor. Like I said, this is my handy dandy little friend. I love these. Okay, messy, but very good for you. I just rinse my hands. Avocados are also excellent just sliced up on a sandwich. If you've ever made guacamole before, you also know how good guacamole can be. If you think you don't like guacamole, let me make it for you sometime, because Store-bought guacamole is not the same. I've never had store-bought or restaurant guacamole that's tasted anything like mine. And I've had people say that they don't like it, and then they taste mine and they're like, wow, that's really pretty good. So I think it just all depends on how it's made. All right. Well, maybe I'll make it next time. I'm coming again next month, so. All right, let's figure out how the lid goes on this one, okay? I'm just gonna simply, again, mash this up a little bit. Okay, to that, I am now going to add, of course, we're making chocolate mousse, so there's got to be some chocolate. This is just simply raw cocoa powder. Now, if you are caffeine sensitive, you can use carob powder in its place. If you've never used carob powder, it tastes almost exactly like chocolate. And it's an incredibly good product to use. And this is simply a little bit of honey. Again, my preference is typically to use raw honey. I couldn't get raw today, so we're going semi-raw. Just scrape the rest of that out of there. And again, just run it a little bit. Stir. We want to make sure it gets all down inside there. One more time. Nope, I think we actually got it all marked. Just fine. All right, and then I'm going to turn it out into a bowl and just kind of mix it the rest of the way. Still got a couple of chunks in there. Like I said, this is something that is incredibly rich, and even if you are a chocolate fan, you're probably not going to want a whole lot of it. It really will satisfy you very, very quickly. And just kind of stir it up the rest of the way. You can see there are a few random chunks of avocado in there. You can also do this with a potato masher. If you're really desperate and you really want to make it and you don't have one of these little things, you could. It won't get quite as smooth. It'll still be a little bit chunky, but it'll still work. All right. And there we have our raw chocolate mousse. And you can top it with anything from some chopped nuts. I've also got some chopped up raspberries here. I've also used raw coconut before, and that's a good topping for it as well. So, questions?
What's raw coconut?
It is coconut that is scraped directly from the inside of the coconut. No, absolutely not. Nope. Nope. Yeah. No, you can either buy a coconut yourself and cut it open and then just take a knife and you scrape the inside to get the meat. And then you could either put it in a small little food processor to chop it up small, or I guess you could probably hand chop it if you want. That seems kind of labor intensive to me. But you can buy it. I've seen it in some of the local health food stores. They do carry the raw coconut, which means it's not been sweetened in any way, and it's not been processed in any way. They've taken it, they've chopped it, and then they've packaged it. So. Again, when doing this, I try to use any ingredients as raw as possible because you're going to get the greatest bang for your buck out of that. And that's really what it's all about. We tend to be used to buying things and buying them a little bit less expensively and thinking that we're getting a good product. But a lot of times, you really want to go, when it comes to food, you want to go organic whenever you can. It's going to be much healthier for you. It seems initially like you're putting out a lot of money for it, but when you think about the health benefit that you're going to get and the less doctor visits and the less prescriptions that you might have to go through, that's going to balance itself out later on. Not to mention the environmental impact, and of course this is a cooking show, so we're not going to talk about that, but I'm a big advocate of that as well. And so conventional produce really puts an awful big burden on the environment. So if you can begin to shift your purchasing towards organic, you're not only doing yourself a big benefit, but you're also doing a benefit for the earth and your children and your grandchildren and so forth.